Sam Zell, founder and chairman of Equity Group Investments, and he is, of course, one of the best known and most successful investors in the entire country, with holdings across all industries and across the globe. Sam is the author of the forthcoming book, Am I Being Too Subtle? Straight Talk from a Business Rebel. I think that's asked sort of tongue-in-cheek, Sam, and it discusses, among other things, his stance on immigration. Welcome back to the program, Sam.
Thank you. My pleasure.
You've been called a lot of things. I'm not sure too subtle is one of them.
No, I take great pride in the fact that I don't think anybody has ever left a meeting with me and said, what do you think he meant?
Yeah, exactly. So, Sam, I want to pick up on the immigration subject because you have been on the program before in other settings. You're open to the possibility that President Trump could be very good for American economy, for American business.
Yes.
At the same time, there are some initiatives, certainly on immigration and trade, that may raise some questions. And you have a lot to say on immigration. What is your reaction to what President Trump is doing in immigration?
Well, I think I'd prefer to start by saying that I am a great believer in immigration, that immigration is a self-selective process. The reason America is great is because we got the best of everybody from all over the world that came together to make up our country. I think it would be very, very bad policy to discourage immigration. Having said that, we also live in a country where there's a rule of law. And I've operated in parts of the world where there is no rule of law. The difference is extraordinary. So how do we, deal with a feeling of supporting immigration as something positive for our country and at the same time maintain our rules and our standards? We got ourselves in the pickle we're in right now because we had previous administrations who refused to enforce the law. So we now have 11 million or whatever number of illegal immigrants. I think it's something that has to be dealt with. I don't have enough knowledge or understanding, and generally probably aren't a big fan of the concept of deportation. On the other hand, if the deportation was really limited to people with a criminal background, I'd have a hard time disagreeing with that. But I think that this has been a festering problem. I remember when George Bush was elected, and he was going to solve the immigration problem. And we've had, subsequent periods, 8 years of very lax administration approach to it. I think it's something that disturbs America, disturbs what our own basic concept of fairness.
Right.
I mean, my parents came to this country 4 months before I was born. They came here legally. They went through all of the, hoops and difficulties in order to be here legally. I'm not sure that's a bad standard.
No, as you suggest, I mean, there are the ideals and then there are the realistic alternatives. If you were to take, it's estimated 8 million of the 11 million are working age and are working in the economy. If you were to take them all out of the economy right now, it would really do damage to the economy. So is there a route to make sure that they can be incorporated legally into the economy? Now, I'm not talking about criminals, but people who are hard-working people in construction, in the leisure industry. Is there a route to do that without deporting them all?
Well, I don't know that there is a route that is currently in place. More important question is, should there be a route?
Right.
And I don't have any problem with the idea that there should be a route, as long as we don't create a massive moral hazard. I mean, when you see undocumented children unaccompanied by parents being put on trains to cross the U.S. border because we have a policy that doesn't make a lot of sense, that disturbs me a lot.
Sam, you're a prolific investor. You look at some of the noise and some of the real news that comes out of D.C. recently. Has it changed the way you think about investing in the United States at all?
I think that President Trump truly has a historic opportunity. We've just completed 8 years where the focus has been on redistribution rather than growth. We've had a policy that wasn't legislative, but was a function of executive orders. When President Obama was elected, he spent $1 trillion on a so-called stimulus bill. I think President Trump has the ability to create the same kind of $1 trillion stimulus without spending a nickel, but instead reversing a whole bunch of, I think, very unproductive legislative and ideological objectives.
Be specific for us, Sam. Which ones?
How about wetlands? I mean, if I'm a farmer and I got a puddle on my ground, it's called navigable waters in order to extend government control and make that a wetland. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And there's tons and tons of other kinds of legislation that I just don't think, really, they represent opportunities to wiggle around and justify a completely other objective.
So wrapping that all into the immigration conversation, a lot of the workers that could be deported work in construction, work in leisure and hospitality. So if sort of the bigger case scenario happens, do you then sort of sell any construction assets in leisure and hospitality? I mean, you start to make trades and bets around that, and what would they be?
I think that that's kind of an extremist view. I think that, first of all, I don't expect any mass deportation other than perhaps criminals. I think if there was an attempt to resolve that in some larger manner, we would have to come up with exceptions or adjustments so as not to disturb our own economy.
Because, of course, what I'm talking about is wages. And if companies have to pay more in wages,
Sure.
or if H-1B visas start to get included, tech companies will have to pay more for workers. And in that, it decreases profit margins. But you don't see that kind of scenario happening.
Well, I just, I think that, no, I don't see that kind of thing happening, number one. Number two, I mean, you're almost painting a giant self-infliction scenario, and I just don't think that's likely.